One of the most difficult things about an avoidant discard is when the avoidant X seems completely unaffected by the breakup. They're going on as if it never even happened, as if you never even mattered to this person. You're in a world of pain. You just got blindsided. It was like somebody reached into your heart, ripped it out, and stomped on it. Because that's essentially what happened. You gave your all to this person. You gave your heart. You gave your commitment. You gave your time. You gave your love, and you gave your energy. They blindsided you. You weren't even given any kind of closure. You were given very vague excuses as to why the relationship had to end. I can't give you what you need, and stuff like that. And then they seem unaffected. They're going on trips with friends. They're merrily going along their way, going on vacations, staying busy at work, going and participating in fun events, posting it all over social media. Maybe even immediately finding a new partner. And it hurts like hell. And you wonder to yourself, did I ever even matter to this person? Do they ever feel any guilt for hurting people? Well, it's not an easy question to answer, because avoidance, well, they avoid. That's what they do. They avoid processing emotions. When they discard a partner, it's because their fears have been triggered. They have a very specific set of fears. Fears of abandonment, fears of rejection, and fears of engulfment, losing themselves in a relationship. These fears are triggered by a partner that is loving and treats them well. That scares them because they fear emotional intimacy. These fears are triggered by growing emotional intimacy with a healthy partner. It is healthy relationship behaviors that trigger these fears. It all goes back to childhood, where the avoidant was emotionally neglected. So they came to discover as a child that emotional intimacy leads to abandonment, and you can't rely on anybody because the people you're supposed to rely on for your emotional needs are not going to be there for you. So it triggers these deep fears within them. When they have these fears triggered, they deactivate. They take their feelings for you, they bury them, they suppress them. They don't allow themselves to access their own feelings for you. That's how they protect themselves. They protect themselves by avoiding emotions, by avoiding processing emotions. And this also means avoiding self-reflection. They don't want to reflect on the feelings that they have. They don't want to reflect on the painful emotions of the breakup. And they definitely don't want to reflect on the fact that they just hurt you, because that's painful, and they've learned to avoid pain rather than face it. They've learned to avoid problems rather than tackle them head on. So the avoidant will immediately go out, suppress their feelings, and they will find ways to distract themselves so they don't have to process these feelings, so they don't have to feel guilt or remorse for hurting you, and so they don't have to miss you, so they don't have to feel anything painful at all. And staying busy with friends or work or going on vacations, well, that's one method of avoidance. Another one is to immediately jump into a new relationship to get that dopamine and to get that distraction, so they don't have to face the painful emotions that they're trying to run from. So during this period, they're not allowing themselves to feel any guilt or remorse, and they're not allowing themselves to process any of the painful emotions from the breakup. Some avoidants will eventually feel guilt. When you've been in no contact for a long enough period of time, the avoidant will start to feel safe because they're no longer being pressured to be something for you in a relationship. They're no longer being pressured to be emotionally available or vulnerable for you. So it's now safe to access their feelings for you. That's when they can actually unbury those emotions, begin to miss you, and feel some degree of guilt for hurting you. Often because they don't do a complete self-reflection. That guilt is often really disguised as them just missing the benefits of you. It's not very crystal clear that it's always 100% guilt unless the avoidant actually starts to do some real work, self-reflects, and takes true accountability. Then yes, in that case, they can truly feel guilt. But most of the time, they miss the benefits of you, they miss the access to you, they miss the validation from you, and they miss you, but that guilt is more along the lines of, oh, I made a mistake. Oh, I screwed up, I should have kept this person around. The avoidants that are serial daters, however, the ones that monkey branch, which is swinging from one limb of the tree to the other without letting go of the previous limb until you have a new limb in hand, that is monkey branching, serial dating, one relationship to the other. Those avoidants will do whatever it takes to avoid processing the emotions. They may still have not processed emotions from numerous breakups. And as long as they continue this pattern of behavior, they're not going to allow themselves to grow emotionally and process emotions. They're not going to allow themselves to self-reflect on painful emotions, take accountability, reflect on their inner attachment wounds. They're going to stay distracted. Ultimately, it is a very painful experience to see this person acting as if they're unaffected. But it doesn't mean that they're getting off scot-free. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of low self-esteem that this person hasn't processed. There's a lot of inner attachment wounds that this person is burying and trying to suppress, but that's still there. They often are battling a profound sense of loneliness, a feeling of being unlovable, often telling themselves that they're bad people. So it's not all wonderful inside of the mind of the avoidant. It may seem like they're living a life of carefree bliss, but there's a lot of inner pain that they are really trying not to actually process and deal with. So it's not always smooth sailing the way they can make it seem on the outside. But the outside behavior, it's very hurtful because it does come across like you never mattered to this person. But don't blame yourself for it. This is a result of their unhealed attachment wounds and their decisions and their choices, because nobody made them do this to you. And nobody made them avoid processing emotions. Nobody made them avoid self-reflection. Nobody's making them avoid accountability. Those are their choices. But yes, we can have a certain degree of empathy and understand it comes from unhealed childhood attachment wounds. And it's definitely not your fault. So stop blaming yourself, because you're only perpetuating your own pain the more you blame yourself for it.